TV Spotlight, Whitechapel. Whitechapel is the name of a British Gothic mystery thriller series that ran for 4 seasons from 2009 to 2013. It starred Rupert Penry-Jones in the lead role of newly promoted DI Joseph Chandler. Penry-Jones had previously shot to fame earlier in the 2000s in the long-running British spy thriller series Spooks. Whitechapel also starred veteran character actor Phil Davis as Detective Sergeant Ray Miles, cult favourite Steve Pemberton, but very well known for shows such as The League of Gentlemen, as ripperologist and historian Edward Buchan, and the first 2 seasons also featured George Rossi, best known as Detective Constable Duncan Lennox in late 90s, early 2000s The Bill. The series was a crime show centred in the notorious London area of Whitechapel. The first season, broadcast in 2009, was essentially a 3-part miniseries in which the newly promoted Detective Inspector Chandler, who's basically being positioned for the fast track, is assigned to a unit to investigate what initially seems to be a straightforward domestic murder, only to find himself and his decidedly sceptical new team actually after a serial killer who is deliberately copycatting the notorious murderer Jack the Ripper. The initial miniseries was a big hit, and a second miniseries was commissioned. This was also just 3 episodes, and essentially this time around the group were up against a rising pair of new gangsters in the area who not only seem to be modelled on the notorious Cray twins, but may actually be related to them. The series then returned for its 3rd and 4th season up to the more standard British series format of 6 episodes. For these 2 seasons, the format was not just one big miniseries, but 3 2-part stories, though the general style of the show, again, the plots were focused on crimes and murders that had striking historical parallels to other crimes committed in the area a long time ago. Whitechapel was a really interesting show, in that it was essentially a stab at urban Gothic in a very modern kind of setting, and it worked really well. It was a very intriguing, very creepy show that was not afraid to go to places you don't generally see on like modern detective shows. I would argue that the first miniseries was probably still the best. The Ripper copycat. It's a great story. It's a great story. It's an excellent 3-part miniseries. It's really good. The second season was still good, not quite as good as the third. I did think that the format change in the 3rd season was actually quite effective, at least in the sense that, they were obviously trying to turn it into a long-running show. And I thought the move to 3 2-parters was a good idea, and it kept the kind of the Gothic murder mystery element of the show that made it so different and so striking and so interesting. Honestly, I think I kind of prefer season 3 to season 2 because of that. I'm not sure why. Again, season 2 was decent. Perhaps the Cray twins just don't have the same kind of iconography or impact of the likes of Jack the Ripper, really. The 4th season was done in the same style. It turned out to be the show's last, despite ending on something of a cliffhanger. I do feel that it started to go a little bit off the rails in the 4th season, in that they started to kind of imply / veer into genuine supernatural territory, which I don't think was actually a very good idea, especially given this is a show in its 4th season. Yes, it was a very creepy show, it was a very dark show, it was a very Gothic show, but still, everything in the first 3 seasons was at least within the realms of, possibility in the real world, if heightened. Starting to go down actual supernatural territory just seemed like a really bad idea to me, particularly 4 seasons in. And maybe, I mean, I don't know what was happening behind the scenes. Maybe that was part of why it was cancelled. I don't know. Maybe the ratings went down, or maybe that, I don't know. That being said, even like most of the plots in season 4, the supernatural suggestions is more like a subplot, and there's still the 3 two-parters are still kind of general crime related stories. I think Whitechapel was a great show. It's a shame it didn't go longer. I think it could have gone longer had they handled it slightly differently, especially in season 4. Because it was a really entertaining show with a great cast. I mean, Rupert Henry Jones and Phil Davis were both terrific. As the, he's the very Rupert Henry Jones was the very smooth, very upper class DI, and Phil Davis is the very down to earth working class DS. So they made a nice kind of chalk and cheese pairing. And again, it did things you don't generally see on your standard kind of British crime show. It was urban gothic, and certainly for the first 3 seasons, I thought they did a really, 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 really good job of that. And it's a shame we didn't get more. If anybody hasn't seen Whitechapel, I recommend checking it out. I particularly recommend checking out the first miniseries, the Jack the Ripper copycat, because honestly, I just watched it again last week, and it's absolutely cracking stuff still. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Talk to you again soon. Comment.